Hey everyone, I'm Shannon,
I'm Alexis.
and we're welcoming you back for another episode of Get Stiff.
Get Stiff is a podcast where we have conversations around grief, loss, and everything in between over cocktails. Each episode coincides with a themed cocktail, and we share the recipe with our listeners.
Today's cocktail is the Whiskey Fix. It's a sexy little cocktail made of blended Scotch whiskey, lemon juice, powdered sugar, and bitters. Say that word for me, Dani.
Bitters.
Will we love it? Will we hate it? We'll find out together. So, today we're very fortunate to have in our midst one of my favorite people in the world, a tattoo artist extraordinaire. We have Dani Rachmann in the house. Say hi to the people.
Hey to the people.
Thank you for joining us today. And if you're ready, it's that time again. So let's raise a glass. Take a sip. Oh my God.
That's good.
That's good. And let's get into it.
It's really good.
So Dani is undeniably one of my favorite people on the planet. And we met some years ago, and she was gracious enough to join us. And she does something a little different. Today we'll be talking about tattoos and memorialization, how they play into grief, death, and loss.
Thank you for having me, Shannon. So glad to be here.
So, Dani, I'm curious, what inspired you to become a tattoo artist?
Okay. So that one, the way that would be answered with today, like newer tattoo artists from today, is a little bit different from the era I came from. I've been in the industry for about 17 years. So keep in mind, this was prior to the rise of reality shows, prior to Instagram. The iPad was actually just a rumor. So in order to get into the industry, you had to actively choose it. And it was usually not the correct path. Like the bulk of my coworkers were actually convicts, actually really questionable company. But I just loved it. And so it wasn't something at the time you fell into or like you even like fantasized about if you were a normal person. But I do remember I grew up very Jewish, and I lived in LA my whole life, and we would walk along Melrose or Venice Beach, and I would take these like surreptitious glances into the shops and see all the flash on the walls, and I couldn't let my parents see how interested in it I was. So when I met the wrongest people on the planet, just a bunch of fun drug addicts when I was a teenager, I very quickly dropped out of high school and pursued that. Is the long answer, actually. Sorry. A bitch can talk.
I'm curious, though. I'm curious as a fellow Jew myself, Tattoos typically aren't really allowed in Judaism, right? So did you ever face any like adversity or kind of backlash from that, deciding to go into that?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't speak to one of my parents for several years, actually. And, I got thrown out of the house, and she said it wasn't because I got a tattoo. She said it's because I lied about it. So, which I'm calling shenanigans, because had I shown up and been like, look what I got, I just think she felt fucking stupid that, wait, can I curse on this thing?
Yes, you can.
Great.
Curse.
I just think she felt fucking stupid that I hid it, and I managed to hide it for so long. And it's this huge, blatant fucking arm tattoo.
Wait, which one was it?
It was this Radiohead song lyric, and I could have gone with the Scandinavian black metal music I listened to, but I did. Radiohead was a good call.
Your
yeah.
first tattoo
been
was a Radiohead tattoo?
It was a little pretentious, but it could have gone way worse, So, we didn't speak for a while. And then I think when my mother specifically, who had the bigger problem with it, saw that it wasn't this like rebellious thing, and I really loved it, and I had a purpose with it. She ended up buying me my first machines for Hanukkah, which wasn't very kosher, but everybody else ended up coming around pretty easily.
Yeah, I think you're not the only tattooed person of the Jewish faith.
Yeah, good.
On this podcast.
I see it.
Somebody has a Star of David. Don't you have a Star of David tattoo?
Do you?
I do. This is actually a memorial tattoo that I got for my great grandma.
That's nice. I have a dreidel on my throat.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool little.
Look at us
ancient,
representing for the Jews.
Yeah.
We're out here.
A memorial tattoo, a Jewish star. That's nice.
So while we're on the topic of memorial tattoos,
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about, I know, Alexis, you spent some time working at a Jewish cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
And generally, I believe, and again, I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, which I like to say is like Judaism's rebellious little sister. Like we celebrate, we honor a lot of the same customs. We observe the Sabbath. We're not supposed to work, sundown Friday, sundown Saturday, that type of thing. But
You
it's
guys
not
have Sabbath on the correct day, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. No, sorry. Be a little controversial out there.
Yes.
I don't know how they decided Sunday was the seventh day, or whatever.
So, I mean, a lot of things were the same. Like, we're not, you weren't supposed to have tattoos. We weren't supposed to do like a lot of things. I didn't get my ears pierced until I was 15. Like, that was a whole thing. And, but I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, there are like, I guess there's, laws around having tattooed and then being able to be buried in a Jewish cemetery. Is that true? What do you know about that?
So I'm assuming Alexis will know more than I will, having had worked there. But from what I understood, it maybe used to be like that, and they've been a little more lax on that, on those rules a little more lately. But yeah, what is that?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I feel like now, just with the times and the majority of people now are tattooed, the funeral industry has had to conform to that because, I mean,
They wouldn't have any business.
one, they're not going to reject the business and the money.
Yeah.
And two, so many people, it's such a big part of their families that, they've also,
Right.
before there was a really strict rule with not allowing people who were not Jewish to be buried
Right.
in Jewish cemeteries. But now, if your spouse, even if they never technically converted to Judaism, let's say that they're Christian and you passed away first and you're Jewish, you can be buried in the same cemetery, even if you are not of the Jewish faith. So there are different rules now that have been changed, which is amazing because I feel like that was just such an old way of doing things. It may be a little bit different in places where they are stricter, like Israel. But from even when I was in Israel,
Everyone there is
I knew that
super
there were people who
tattooed.
were buried with
Yeah.
tattoos. Yeah. Especially in Tel Aviv. They have
They're
more tattoos than I
they're
did.
super secular, yeah. There's a
Yeah,
whole Curb Your
so I don't know if that's
Enthusiasm
a thing
episode about
anymore.
that. There's
There
an entire Curb
is.
Your, the special section is
There-
what it's called,
there
about his mom had a
is.
secret ankle tattoo.
And he went and he tried to
It
get there
made
out in the
this
middle of
special
the
section,
night.
yeah.
I couldn't even, I remember, so I was very, very late to the Curb Your Enthusiasm train, and then I started putting it on at night
It's
just
so
like to fall
good.
asleep.
It's so good. That's
so
the white
good.
noise in our brain. I'm assuming this one too. Alexis, are you Ashkenazi?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So her white noise is probably Larry, David, and Susie arguing, because that's what all of our grandparents or our parents sound like if you're, of the Ashkenazi
Pretty much.
persuasion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, I always
is-
wonder
that's
what the
hilarious.
difference is between like the Sephardic people and like what their
I'm
customs are and
kinda
how much different they are
half-half.
from Ashkenazi. Oh, you're both.
Yeah, so I'm not Sephardic. I'm Mizrahi, which is like more Levantian sort of thing.
Yeah.
But my brother just married a Sephardi, a Persian chick. Super cool, but their wedding customs were nothing like Ashkenazi Jewish weddings. So I'm assuming their burials are probably a little different as well. But
Does your brother have tattoos?
oh no, it's a dork. No, he's a nice little contract lawyer. He did everything right. He's a sweet boy.
The cutest thing you will ever see, but he's also like 13 feet tall.
Yeah, he's the tallest Jew I've ever seen in my life. It's
He is
really
so
wild. Yeah, he's like 6'6" and some change, I think, something like that. He's a big dude, 6'7", he's just big Jew.
Well, she has like a Pikachu hiding just like somewhere random, but he's
Something
ashamed
like
of.
a butt tattoo, like when he was in his frat.
Something that you never knew about. This is there.
I would
But I'm
die.
curious. I'm pretty sure that by this time, you said you've been in the industry like 17 years, that
Yeah.
you've done countless like memorial tattoos or tattoos that people get to commemorate someone. So how do you personally believe that tattoos in a way help people who are grieving?
So I think in a lot of ways, I think it's become kind of something that people do after they go through a loss. Like, it's something people consider to do. It's become so much part of the modern culture and lexicon that I think, it's something that occurs to people. I don't know how helpful it actually is, because I know when I've gone through really serious losses, you do these things and they end up feeling kind of trite because you so desperately want to feel better. So you do the things you're supposed to do. You take up yoga, you get a tattoo, maybe a haircut. And at the end of it, you know, who knows? I mean, it's probably more constructive, I guess, than doing nothing and wallowing. But I don't know. I think I've come to the point where I think time is the only thing that really helps much. However, that being said, I have a memorial tattoo, and I got it blackout wasted. I was drunk a few days after my stepmother died, and who I was very close with. She was like my parent to me, more than one of my other parents who will remain nameless, Abba. But he was like, my dad was cool. Yeah, we're actually really tight.
Shady.
But she was around.
Are we talking? I don't know if we can say her name on here, but
Musette? Yeah, I'm talking about Musette. She was really great. Not Jewish, Catholic, interestingly enough. But after she died, I called her Moose. And after she died, I got drunk and I went to my friend's shop. And I was like, I want her name on my hand. And he was like, okay, I guess. And then I made him freehand it, which he was not comfortable doing. And it came out great. It's over here. And then I had this immense feeling of guilt because her biological daughter, who was only 10, saw it and knew that I called her Moose and said, oh, you know, what did you get? And she saw it and she kind of touched it. And then I felt like, holy shit, you know, what if I was her, because I'm such a petty person, part of me would think, what on earth do you know about my mother, you know? And then I felt guilt because I was 25 and she was 10 and I had infinitely more time with this person that I cared deeply for. And it's funny because I told her that because the kid's 19 now. And I told her, I was like, yeah, I felt really bashful when you noticed it so quickly. And she's like, yeah, I thought it was really cool. And I was like, oh, I'm a terrible person. Because I know how I would have felt. And, you know, I guess it does help, despite everything I said prior, because I know tattoos can be a bookend. So it's something kind of permanent and kind of final. And as long as you're here on this plane, those will be here for the most part on this plane, you know, barring a loss of a limb or maybe perhaps a deep enough burn. But the scars remain, so they stay. And it does kind of feel a bit like closure, at least for a while. And then it just becomes part of you and your journey and your body, like every other tattoo.
Absolutely. I have to agree with you. I only have one tattoo, and it is a memorial tattoo, and it was done by Dani. Only person I trusted to jab
I would have been
needles
so
into
upset,
me.
and I know it's not my business, but I would have been very upset. Body autonomy, whatever.
Went to anybody else.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It would have been real awkward real quick.
And it was, but it's a snail, and it's a snail that Matt had drawn on like a birthday card or a Christmas card or something like that.
Goodness.
But it was, you know, she copied it, and it was really sweet. Like April went with me to get it. It was really sweet. But to your point about you getting a tattoo and then someone else noticing that you'd gotten one. So my cousin and her husband, who are also very close with Matt, right after they got married a year later after he and I were supposed to, and they got memorial tattoos for him. They both got snail tattoos.
Interesting.
And
interesting.
They both got snail tattoos.
Yeah.
And I remember her showing me like the stencil before it was done, and she was like, "Are you cool with this?" And I'm like, "No, absolutely."
Oh,
like,
okay.
I think it's
so
amazing.
you're not petty and horrible.
No, not at all.
I am.
Not at all. I think if it were anyone else that would have done it, it would have felt weird.
Yeah.
Like it would have felt weird. Like for example, his brothers got tattoos, and well, you know, Justin got one.
Yeah, of course.
And then it's a little, but they were representative of who, you know, they were a representation of who he was to them. And so it's just different. But everyone in my family, everybody called him Snail. Like that was his name, that was his thing. And even now, it's become so much a part of my life to where if people see it and ask about it, I just say, you know, snails don't just represent him to me anymore. They represent perseverance, resilience, patience, and just a reminder to keep moving forward, to keep staying the course. It may take a minute, but you'll get there eventually.
Wow.
And that's kind of
like loss overall, not even a personal loss, just just persevere. Yeah. And also a hard shell with a very squishy, soft interior.
And that is me.
That's Shannon for sure.
I think about I know we were joking about this, Alexis, when we had I don't remember who we had on. I think it might have been Anita. We had Anita on, and we were talking about pulling people out of their shells and all of that. And I think Anita said something along the lines of I collect people, and I'm like, I totally do.
You do. Yeah, you do.
Even the way we became friends, I met Danny at a party.
It was at your house, though, right?
It was at Meryl's house.
Meryl's house. It was at Meryl's. That's right. Right.
Yeah, I met her at a party. She was just in the corner. We didn't know each other, and it was when she.
I showed up alone. Yeah.
And you had the side of your head shaved, and you had that beehive. She has a beehive tattoo.
My hair's grown out right now, and I'm wearing headphones, but I do have honeycomb and bees crawling all over my scalp. Yeah.
And I walked up to her and I grabbed her face, and I think I said something like, "You have a beehive on your head," and she's like, "Yeah, I know."
Yeah, it's there.
And I was like, "That's amazing. Let's be friends."
Yeah, and you have to imagine no one was getting head tattoos and shit like that back then.
Yeah.
Like maybe some bikers in San Bernardino County had some head tattoos, but it wasn't common. And you were so inquisitive and so in my shit about it. I loved it. I did. I loved it. And it was a good conversation starter that night. Yeah, it felt pretty cool.
And that was over 10 years ago, and we're still here.
Sat at a table. Oh, no, it was way more. It was like 13, 14 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah,
because I remember I had just gotten that tattoo and I was trying to play it cool, like, yeah, I have a head tattoo, but like I was like, oh my god, people are noticing.
But yeah, I'm definitely I'm glad. Same way Alexis and I became friends, honestly, working together, and it was like, yeah.
Which place was that at?
Well, we're not going to name the place.
Oh, right. Yeah,
but
Morals.
it was a funeral home.
So cool. How long ago? Give me that. I'll be able to extrapolate from the information.
What was that? 2016? 2016?
Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay.
Something like that.
Gotcha.
But Shannon walks up to me pretty much like the base of the story. She's like,
This
yeah,
bitch.
we're going to be friends. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. Just because we're both from LA. We're both from LA. We're both black. Like, does not mean we're going to be friends. I don't know about this.
Oh, I made her give me cross streets, and she was like, oh, yeah, I'm from LA,
creepy.
and I was like, what
You're
part?
so
We had to
creepy.
fact check each other. We had to fact check each other because people will say that they're from LA, but they're really from like, I don't know, Long Beach or
Chino
like
Hills.
the Valley, and we're like, but
Wait, what were the cross?
where
Oh,
are
the
you
Valley.
from?
Okay, the Valley is a problem now. All of a sudden, all right, it's all right. I'm from
Well-
WeHo, and that's its own municipality. So that's
WeHo counts,
I won't
but
be that
growing
hurt.
up, you're from LA. You know that there was always like a valley type of thing. There was always like,
I saw
you're from
Clueless.
the valley.
Or it's like,
But
yeah, I'm from the Inland Empire, so you're not from LA.
No, that is not. That is not.
yeah,
And I'm
Or
going to go out
they'll
on a
say, like,
limb
yeah.
and say, I don't want to give all the hate. Never mind. I have clients that come from everywhere, and I love them. Oh no, I was just going to say like most of it, like all of it, any of it. Like, I don't even like Long Beach is not Los Angeles. It's Long Beach. It's not even the right county.
that's what I say.
Deep Valley
People
gets
don't
questionable.
listen,
I will count Studio City and Van Nuys.
Oh,
But-
yeah, that counts as LA.
My litmus, and I've
Yeah.
said this before, but I need it on the record, is that if you're closer to West Hollywood and Los Feliz and Silver Lake than you are to Northridge and Chatsworth, you're in the shallow valley. And shallow valley counts. You know, if you can go right over the hill and get to WeHo and stuff,
And be there.
that counts. Yeah, because like where Shannon and I may or may
We're in
not,
the tip.
you know.
I
we'd
call
have to-
Sherman Oaks the foreskin of the valley.
It is.
Just
It's just a tip. And you know, to getting to Northridge, we need to jump on the 405. It would be a whole thing. So yeah, I would say shallow valley. We're acceptable. Sorry. Okay.
That's how you know we're
We're
from
talking
LA.
about death. We're talking about death.
This is how you know that
Sorry.
we are from
Edit
LA.
that whole thing out. Edit that whole thing out.
No,
It's
we're
fine.
keeping it. 'cause
Okay.
I mean, if you're
That's-
not from here, would you just rather be dead?
Yeah, it sounds like really cool. It sounds like an SNL skit. It's very familiar.
All right. Well, since we're on the topic of memorial tattoos, I kind of want to shift to memorial tattoo trends. So we've been seeing these pop up a lot. Look at the light
Okay.
leaving her eyes just a little.
Okay, hit me.
So we've been seeing these pop up where people will have ashes like tattooed into the, mixed with tattoo ink, or people will have like song lyrics or voicemails, whatever that is. Like you can scan the sound waves or
okay.
the QR codes or that type of thing.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on those types of trends? Do you think that they are possible? Will they last long?
Okay.
Will they?
So I'm going to attack this from two different angles. Okay. So the ones that are like barcodes or QR codes or audio waves, it would first of all require a really good artist to do that. These things are consistent enough.
So
that
you.
can yeah, I mean, I can do that absolutely, and I've done a few and they do work. However, I will say the question for that is how long will it continue? Like for how long will it continue to work? Because tattoos age and they change in your skin. And so, you might be able to scan that thing now, but in 10 years, you likely no. Because tattoo ink kind of remains liquid underneath the skin. It expands as it ages, and, it changes. And that's why when you have a lot of dense, cluttered, small lines together, they will tend to lose their breathing room, so to speak, So I think the gimmicky stuff that requires a phone for it to have meaning, or something that's charged with a battery to have meaning, or something that is of the moment, I find holds, to me personally, a little less weight. Now, when I do it as an artist, I will give it my all, and I will explain these risks to the client. But for me, that's a little difficult. I would rather encapsulate how the person made you feel than something interactive that you could perhaps have in a medium that is more sustainable for that sort of process. Keep the voicemail, frame a photo. But your tattoo doesn't need to be that kind of interactive, I don't think, and just because it's not super sustainable long term. As for the ashes, I will tread very lightly with this one because I actually answered an email today about that. Literally today, I answered an email about that, and I've been going back and forth with her. And I didn't know this, but it came to my attention that there is a company that is offering sterile and safe way to put your loved one's ashes into a tattoo ink. Now, I had a lot of mixed feelings about that because the reason why we don't like adding ashes to tattoo ink is it can fuck with the integrity of the ink. I don't know how that's going to change how the tattoo comes out, and my first and foremost plan is to give you a solid tattoo that I know is in it for the long haul. So usually I reject these things. Sometimes if I think they truly understand that, hey, this might not hold the way my other work holds, and I probably shouldn't be saying this out loud, and this is why you ply your guests with 56 malt Scotch, barrel-aged, blah. But, fuck it. My morals are a little bit up for debate sometimes. It's a very shaky moral compass.
Stop it.
No, it's true. It's cool. But as long as I think the person understands the ramifications, like potentially this might not look the way my other work presents because we mixed this foreign substance. Who knows if it's sterile? I'm making you sign every consent form. You get your tattoo. You can't sue me, sort of thing. But and it is nice to feel. Fuck it. I had a friend who died a few years ago, and his dad and my other close friend, they smoked him. They smoked him in a joint, legitimately. And I've seen that in movies, but I had not prior seen that in real life. And, I'm not going to tell someone how to grieve,
Yeah.
I'm not. So fuck it. I'll help if I think you understand. So anyway, to circle back, this company is offering like a sterile and safe way to add ashes to ink. But on the website, it wasn't super clear as to how it's guaranteed they're your ashes. It wasn't super clear as to what else was in the ink. So,
like an additive,
is
like
it
a
good
bonding
ink?
agent?
Is it even good ink? Like,
Do you mean like in terms of like a bonding agent?
I don't know. What is your ink? What is your ink made out of? It can't just be made explicitly out of the ashes. You maybe sprinkle a little dusting. They have a whole kit. I read the whole website because this client with whom I was corresponding sent me a link. Like, do you think this is a better option? Because I was like, I'm not always comfortable adding. Like, I really should say no. Like, I never really do that stuff. Usually, I reject them lightly. But should I? So she's like, oh, what about this? And I saw it, and I was like, I would actually trust my ink with a little dusting of these ashes in it more than I would trust whatever's in this shit. Like, what's in it,
Right.
Then I looked at the price tag.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was like $1,000 for a bottle of ink you're going to use once. The tattoo was going to be $150. Like, it was like a little thing. Like, it seemed so exploitative and so problematic, and it didn't even seem to be great quality. I was actually appalled, and it kind of hurt as an artist to see that. I was like, that's more than my work is for something like this. So in that case, get a tattoo, feel what you need to feel, even get something that fucking hurts, just, you don't need to add all this shit to make it, meaningful. Like, I think if it feels like the person, that's enough. That's it.
Yeah. I think I see your point in terms of it being, the cost of the ink, just like surpassing even what the labor would be. I wonder, it makes me think about like water cremation or like terramation in terms of how when anything is new, it's like super expensive because it's not available everywhere.
Right.
You have to, a lot of your stuff maybe has to be like custom done or tested, and you're doing all of that testing yourself.
Right.
But I'm interested to know what you think about like if that would even be healthy, like mixing someone else's remains with ink and then having that injected. Like, I wonder what the health ramifications would be, if anything, or if it's too new to even know.
It would be too new to even know. I'm assuming it's some sort of carcinogen because the sun is a carcinogen.
Well, yeah.
Everything is a carcinogen. But I'm going to be frank with you, and this is, again, the empty glass of booze in front of you talking. I'm not convinced actually good quality tattoo ink is actually okay for you. I think it can be hard on your lymphatic system. It can be hard on your liver. I would hope there's not too many cancer-causing agents, but a lot of
She says that she's covered in tattoos.
Well, I have very little blatant disregard for my own personal health. It's fine. It's punk rock, man. It's good. But I'm not convinced, regular tattooing. I mean, Europe just banned most colors, actually. Because,
really?
Yeah. And, again, if this is what takes me out, fuck it. Something was gonna, But... somehow ash is organic, yeah, technically. I mean, that's probably. I guess ash and soot.
You heard how I said that.
Yeah, like organic from a chemistry standpoint.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's an organic. So it's like every other fucking thing, and actually, a lot of pigments are derived from heavy metals, which I think are probably way fucking worse for you. So, I could be wrong. I don't remember the chemistry, but I think. There's things like iron oxide or cobalt in things like white, red, and blue ink. I mean, that can't be great, right? Like that. There's no way that's like as I have this, fuck you, mom, red across the chest. Like fuck it. But I think if it goes back to that company, if they could prove that the ink, for me as an artist, if the ink would not give any infection, stay sterile, and not, become a bad product. If I'm not providing you with a bad tattoo because of the ink, I could endorse it, and I wouldn't mind the price tag so much if they were more transparent about what else made their black ink black, about what else was in it. If there was more transparency and they're like, yeah, we know it's expensive, here's how we do this process, and this is why it costs so much. Maybe one day, if there's more demand, it'll be cheaper for you guys. I'd be a lot more comfortable with it. But it just feels like you're grieving and you're going to pay $1,000 to buy this ink. That's what it feels like to me personally.
And you said you have no moral compass.
That's true. Yeah,
look at you.
That's true. Yeah, I told her, I was like, don't buy that. Please don't buy that. I won't use it.
So now I'm curious. Have you heard of that company who I want to know how it works. I haven't looked too much into it, but they quote unquote preserve the ink of a person who has died. Have you seen that? Like
taxidermy, right?
Yeah, kinda. Yeah, it's I think that.
Okay, look.
But I wonder how it works.
Okay, I believe. Okay, so look, there's actually been a long history of preserving people's tattoos, and for various purposes. So okay, so. The first time I saw it in person, remember that the Body Worlds exhibits? Yeah, they had a plastinate that was a person's tattoo.
Yeah.
And it was sliced into oblivion, but they kind of laid it out that it was almost like a deck of cards.
Like
you could see the image. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I remember.
I loved it. So that's obviously possible, right? And then if you go back, Ilse Koch, the Nazi, she wasn't really a prison guard. She was married to one. But she was known as the bitch of Buchenwald, and she was known to kind of pull an Ed Gein, and if any of the prisoners at Buchenwald concentration camp had tattoos, she would make lampshades and shit out of them.
Holy shit.
And they still exist. And
the lampshades?
Yeah. There's a lot of evidence of it. And she particularly liked ornamental tattoos. And so it wasn't common in the 40s and 30s, but sailors, military frequently had them. They're still around 100 years later, just about. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's possible. I actually would love that. I mean, fuck, these things cost a lot of money. So, I feel like if it could last forever, and the work is beautiful. I would hope. Well, they probably won't look like this when I'm 80. But if something happened to me tomorrow, I have some very beautiful tattoos that I think the work is museum quality and does deserve to be remembered. And whether it's for memorial or for the the art of it, like, please save the art. Please save it. If there was a way to do that, I'd pay top dollar for that.
Well,
so.
if it's any consolation, I would absolutely
Skin me
frame.
alive.
I would
Skin me alive,
absolutely frame one of your tattoos.
Take what you will. Like, take whichever one you want. It's yours as long as you promise to hang it up. In fact, they hurt a lot. They spend a lot of hours, a lot of research on who's doing them. I would rather them last like actually forever. That'd be great.
Oh, no wonder. I was just looking at
So-
them like, how do they do it? So the founders are actually both embalmers and funeral directors. So 'cause
Great.
I was
There
like,
we
what
go.
is this random people
So
who
what
just
is it? Do
stroll
they
on
dip
in and like
it, or-
skin you.
Is it like what is that? Like a tanning process? Like cattle, like tanning?
Maybe.
I don't know,
I'm
it
not an
doesn't tell me
embalmer, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell me the process. I mean, you're not in, but you've seen embalming. I've done embalmings, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing it's something similar to how we do when we're taking care of people who are donating their organs and they take the skin. I'm guessing. You
What do
just
they
use
do
like
with
this
it?
little tool that
What do they do with
literally
it?
you roll.
Oh, well, you mean like for
roll-
donation?
There's a specific
Yeah.
tool that you roll.
Is it for, like, burn victims
over,
or
and it
something?
literally just peels the skin. It's like, this is gonna sound graphic, but it's like a vegetable
Like it
peeler,
flays
but
it?
for people on skin.
Wait.
This is for organ donation. This is not what we do in the funeral
I get
home.
it. Yeah, for funsies,
This is
I
not,
get it.
yeah,
Not
this is
for
not-
How deep does it go? Like down both layers of skin?
It's
I think
pretty deep.
I don't
Yeah.
know. That's more of an Alexis question. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
but
it
yes,
goes
organ
pretty
donation
deep.
for like
Right. So let's say they cut out the skin, and then they what? Is it chemical? Is it like a dry aged steak?
I mean,
what is the
I'm
situation?
trying to look up the process. They're probably not going to tell you the full process because it's something they're going to try to protect. But yeah, it doesn't say. It just says that they work with
I
funeral
want to know.
homes.
I really want to know.
They ensure the dignity. Blah blah blah. This one's full sleeve. Blah blah blah. Yeah, it says
skinning you
either
alive,
the
we'll do it in
embalmer
style.
I don't
removes
give a
or
shit.
surgically incising the tattoo. Very interesting, but
That
I was
is
just
very
curious.
cool.
Your, I forgot about that exhibit at the Body World. I was like obsessed with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, it was like life changing, man, for
It
sure.
was so that.
So
like, explains a
I did
lot.
want to talk. Yeah, I did want to talk a little bit while we're still talking about memorial tattoos.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about getting them for people, but
Sure.
you have a memorial tattoo that's very special that is
Oh,
not for a person.
yeah,
Would you
right.
like to tell us a little about that? You don't have to.
Yeah. Oh no, I know. This is everything I say is going to further or make me sound like a terrible person. But I've lost a lot of people in my life. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I've lost a lot of people in my life, very close people, friends, family. But the one that actually hurt me the most was my dog, Prudence. That one for whatever reason was harder for me, and it's still hard for me. The other ones I've come to terms with, and it's been 4 years, and it still hurts really bad. And my biggest tattoo on my body prior to getting my back piece finished was a portrait of her on my thigh, in kind of a cartoony neo-trad style that I got when she was like 4, perhaps. So she was still alive. And then it was like my biggest tattoo for about a decade. And then after she died, it wasn't... I guess I did need something, I did end up getting a giant Dear Prudence tattoo on my neck. It's huge. It's cursive. It's like my whole throat and neck. Yeah, I got it about a year after she died. I don't know. It is kind of nice to have it part of me and something so visible. And people ask a lot, like, oh, like the Beatles song, and it is. And sometimes I'll leave it there, and sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, and my dog, and then the last, I'm like, oh, she's dead, but she's been dead, but that did help. It was kind of cathartic because it was painful and took some endurance, and and it's not like you look in the mirror and you're sad every time you see it, or when I look at my hand, and I don't even really look at my hand tattoo and then correlate what my hand looks like with my stepmother or my neck and my face, which is memorial stuff, I guess, technically for a pet. But, it just starts becoming part of your body after a while, after you get used to it, after it heals, after you have to stop caring for it. And I kind of like that, like evidence of the pieces that they leave behind, just like scars, just the pieces that these important, I'd say humans, but creatures like leave, like the pieces left behind, and that is kind of nice, actually, a nice sentiment, I think.
Yeah, I think we also have a hold on, let me rephrase.
Sorry,
I'm
I'm
saying
like chewing ice.
It's hitting. There's an account that I follow, and it's called, I follow Honoring Animals, and I follow this account called Pet Loss Psychologist. She's a pet loss psychologist, and she spends a lot of time talking about how a lot of times losing a pet can hurt more than losing like a distant relative. And I lost my dog last year. It's been a little over a year now that, R.I.P. Tails,
Big
man.
ups, Tails.
And it was an interesting type of grief because, when I lost my fiance, and I'm not saying it's any worse or better, it was just different. Because when I lost my fiance, like, people flooded in, they were supportive and all of that.
Right.
But then, like, when it's a dog, it's people don't really know how to support or what to do.
Or they don't think it, they might think it's silly, which you can kind of see because you feel a little silly. But I came here after I had to put Prudence down. I panicked, bought basically a one-way ticket to Mexico, and then stayed for an indefinite amount of time, had my whole house cleared out, came back, and then I came here for a gals' night. Yep. It was fun. There's 4 of us here. And it was a great night. But especially after you've gone through, Shannon went through what she's gone through with loss, I felt fucking stupid. Really expressing, and it's not anything that, my friends were there for me. Obviously, they let me talk about it as long as I needed to talk about it, but you feel silly conflating the two. You feel really fucking stupid trying to explain it. And maybe this is a lack of, my own ability to feel for people in a way that I felt for this dog. But for me, for whatever reason, it did hurt more than what I've experienced, at least so far.
And that's perfectly valid.
I don't know. It
is because when you look at it, Prudence was someone that you saw every single day, slept in your
responsible.
bed. You took care of her. Yeah. Especially from the time she was a little baby to the time that she was just this big old whopping cow.
She was 96 pounds. She was a big girl, black and white, like an Oreo cow.
But as sweet as she could be.
Yeah.
And so when you have someone day in and day out and you're responsible for them, and from your worst days, I think about even Tails. It's you know how many boyfriends Tails has been through?
Tails was great, though. Right? Tails was great. One of my favorite photos of me of all time.
When he's laid back.
It was I think he's smoking a joint or something, and I was scratching this dog's belly, and he looked super happy.
We'll see if we can have Milan edit that picture
really cool.
to the feed so you guys can see it.
It's a really good photo, actually.
But Danny, and I think you're wearing a blazer.
I looked great.
She's
great.
smoking a joint, and she's holding Tails upside down like a little baby, and his dick is just out.
He had this crazy boner. It was wild. It was wild.
And she's just smoking, and he's just chilling. Yeah, it's definitely he was a good dog, but I agree. It's weird to care for something day in and day out, and then just not.
And
have
then when
them
it's
anymore.
your call,
yeah,
you always wonder if you could have done more.
Yeah.
I didn't kill any of my friends or my stepmother or whatever.
As far as we know.
Shh. Not on a real podcast, Shannon. But that one, it's ultimately, or not always, but it often is ultimately your call.
Yeah.
And, everyone told me it was the right choice. One of my closest gal pals is a veterinarian, and, my mother's a physician, and everyone was like, yo, this dog is dying, But there's always part of you that's did I make the wrong choice? So now the only repetitive tattoos that I have are Prudence, and I have her name on my neck. I got it after she died. I have her face, and she's wearing this kind of pearl necklace, one of those meshy eye veils, she's very proper, like an old British gal, Prudy Dench, and I feel like she would have this Julia Child whoa thing going on, and it's good. It's in a filigree frame. It's a tattoo. It's good. Sorry.
Do you get a lot of people often who are trying to commemorate their pets? Have you done a pretty decent number of people getting memorial tattoos for their pets?
Yeah, and that's a style that I do a lot is dog portraits. And I do cat portraits too. But again, one drink deep, and I'm already.
Don't leave Bootsy out.
Okay, look, there's a cat that lives for free in my house named Boots with a purr, because she purrs a lot and she's all black and has white boots on, And my wife and I, the only arguments we've ever had in earnest have been about who named that cat. And it was me. I'm gonna get a divorce. But I named that cat. That's a pun I would make. That's something I would say. I've never heard Dee say. No, why would she say that? No. Anyway, it's over for me. Yeah. Wait, what was the question? People asking me for pet tattoos.
Yes.
Yeah. The reason why they ask for that, I think, more often than anything else is, quite frankly, because I'm really good at dog portraits. And I do cat portraits too, but they all kind of look the same to me after a while. It's like babies, like human infants. I don't know, man. Like they all kind of look the same. But your dog, I will point by point, like that will be the most important tattoo because I had such a connection to.
Yeah.
Like I will never put anything, like I will never invest anything in anything the way I will if it's like a dog portrait tattoo. Mm-hmm. They come out pretty fire. So yeah, I've done a lot of pet portraits, alive and dead. Oh gosh, I've done all sorts of things. I did this one where this person they were really, really like attached to their cat the way that I was attached to my dog. And their cat was really old, and they discussed this tattoo with me for a while, like, oh, maybe when she passes away, I'll get her paw prints here because she likes to lay here, and that's where her paws go in that orientation. And the cat got really sick shortly after we had that conversation. The cat was like 1 billion years old, and I was like, oh, this person's going to fall apart. I felt really horrible. But they came in, I kind of expedited their appointment because I understand the importance, and we did the little pause, and they got to take one photo of the cat's paw print tattoo with the cat's paws next to it. And they sent it to me, which was kind. And the cat did pass away shortly afterwards. But it did feel like, oh, I did something for someone. Like that felt really nice. So there's all sorts of ways people choose to memorialize pets, and also people, for that matter, the way they elect to, whether it's a portrait or their handwriting is very common right now, which I actually enjoy to do. It's very fun. And you can get every like drag mark in the pens, every like the tilt, like it's really personal, so that's pretty cool. Yeah. I really like those. There's all sorts of ways people do things, whether it's a name or, something that yesterday, actually, I did this magnolia branch that was for it's for a lot of things, his childhood and stuff, but he wanted it woven into a tattoo he had pre-existing that was for his mother. His mother had passed away. And the magnolia tree was very representative of his childhood. And so he chose to intertwine that. And he wanted like a lot of like strength represented in the branches and softness and delicacy represented in the petals. And it's actually, I think it's like one of the best tattoos I've ever done in my career. But I'm sure a lot of it reminded him of his mother who had passed away. And the tattoo in the inner arm he had was a tattoo that he'd read his mother's journal after she had died. And she said she wanted this tattoo. So he got that tattoo after she had passed away. People get all sorts of things for their pets, their loved ones, different styles,
Do you feel more pressure, like when you're doing a memorial tattoo versus like a more traditional, like someone just strolls in and gets something like random?
Yeah, I think so. You really do want to help. As grouchy and crusty and old world tattoo artist as I am, you do want to feel like you did something crucial or important. You want to also feel like you don't want to mar the memory of somebody. You don't want them to reimagine who they are because you made some stylistic choices. Like, it stops being about you as an artist. It's not your concern any longer. Like, this is, you basically in that context, I would say you serve as more as an interpreter or a translator, where it's your job to translate the feeling of this person in the best manner for them. There's a lot of pressure there, especially handwriting, man, because they'll know if it doesn't look like theirs. That's wild.
Yeah.
But also like just bigger pieces, like in the scopes of thing, maybe they'll have religious iconography or portraits or things like that. Doves, people like peaceful images pertaining to memorializing somebody. I think that there's a sense of like you'd like to serve a purpose. You want your art to have meaning. And at the end of the day, I can't speak for every tattooer, but I like people and I like that part of my job, and I like the part where you get to be helpful. And I think you don't get more helpful in this line of work than when you're doing something like that, when you're helping somebody grieve, you know? I think that that's actually the most important I've personally felt in my line of work, for sure.
Sorry, I'm holding in a burp.
What? I didn't even hear what you said.
I was trying to like.
I thought Shannon was all looking at me like I said something profound, and
You did.
I was just holding in a burp this whole time.
It was
like,
beautiful, and it was
run away,
beautiful.
take an Alka-Seltzer,
And I did
come
not
back,
want-
and get the fuck out of here, Shannon. Go home.
It
Go
was
over
so
in your
beautiful,
home.
and I didn't want to ruin the moment. And I was thinking about Alexis that time we were recording, and I remember
When
my
you
allergies
snorted?
were going crazy, and I was
Full
like,
on snorted and then snorted.
I was
Did you
trying
keep
to like.
that cut though? Did you
I
keep
could
it?
feel we kept it.
Oh, yeah.
I felt it like running down, and I tried to go like.
And she looks me dead in my eyes when she
Jesus.
does it. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like,
It's the eye contact.
yeah, she did, dead in my eyes. And I'm like thinking something's wrong.
Did it feel like good and intimate? Did it feel good? Did
She was.
I was
it feel
confused.
good? It felt good.
I was like, I don't know what's happening.
it felt right.
It was a little
Felt
invasive
correct.
for my
Oh
liking.
my god!
Oh my goodness. Yeah. It felt correct.
Is there? You know what? This feels like a great time to take a break. So we are going to pay some bills, get a refill, and we'll see y'all in a minute.
Refill.
This episode of Get Stiff is brought to you by Furwell Pets.
Losing a pet is hard. Not being greeted by happy barks or satisfied purrs after years of daily interactions can be devastating. Not really sure how to support someone who has experienced a pet loss? Furwell Pets gets it. Send them something to honor the memory of their pet. The Furwell My Friend Remembrance Bracelet is a subtle way to carry your pet's memory with you wherever you go.
Gemstone options include amethyst to support calm and rest, and tiger's eye to promote protection and clarity during this difficult time. Visit furwellpets.com to get yours today, or send one to comfort a friend. That's FURWELL pets.com. Furwell, my friend. Love lives on.
And we are back with Dani Rachmann.
So, Dani, we talked a little bit about our memorial tattoos and
yeah.
why we have them, and ones that you've given to other people. Can you tell us a little bit about where that even started? That practice, even I almost said trend, but I didn't want to be disrespectful. So, where that cultural practice even began?
Yeah, I can. It's actually pretty fascinating. So, and I was as
Is it?
quite fascinating. Yeah. So interestingly enough, a lot of the histories of the reasons why people chose to get tattoos, in very many different, like let's say indigenous tribes, for example, they've been buried or covered up because a lot of the times when those when those areas were colonized or conquered, when you take away someone's, if they didn't have like a classical written language, you take away their history by, like, for example, in Hawaii, removing the hula, or, making tattoos illegal, so you take away the language, you take away the culture, you take away the history. So a lot of it hasn't actually been written down as to why people got tattoos. So interestingly enough, to my knowledge, the earlier documented cases of people getting specific more memorialized tattoos, like a name and an RIP, was actually Civil War era in the States. And tattoos were kind of slowly picking up traction in the States from, like different Navy sailors and stuff that would go to like what is currently New Zealand. And they saw like facial moko and classical indigenous tribal tattooing like that. And it became kind of popular. There's rumors that certain, like, let's say, for example, British kings and stuff had tattoos, but they weren't always corroborated. So that was like the first kind of written, this was specifically a memorial tattoo. But the reason why a lot of older tribes got tattoos were actually largely either coming of age rituals to make them look fierce, like appear fierce in battle, or medicinal. So the oldest example of tattooing we have currently is on Otzi the Iceman. He was an ice mummy found, interestingly enough, on the border of the Swiss and the Italian Alps. And this mummy's like 5,000 years old from the Bronze Age. Oh, wow. Okay. And he has like something like 60-something tattoos, and they're simple, rudimentary dots and dashes throughout his body. And they seem to be on pressure points. And this mummy is so perfectly preserved because he was in this frozen frozen situation for the last 5,000 years. We even know what the last meal he ate was. Like, we can actually trace the last 24 hours of his life. We know what killed him. It was likely a wound from a battle. We know his last meal was likely goat. And his tattoos seem to be likely medicinal, like pressure points where he maybe had sustained injuries, acupuncture points, things like that. And that's also the case of a lot of the mummies found in Peru and things like that. Incan mummies and other things like that. But an interesting way that tattoos tied into death in certain cultures. This is really cool. There were Indonesian tribes where they believed that if you didn't, like, you needed to have this certain mark on you for your god or their god at the time to recognize them, to pull them kind of into heaven. So they would get tattoos about death preemptively rather than memorialization to guarantee that they would be recognized as part of this chosen tribe.
Very
and
Passover
pulled
lamb's
it's
blood
like
over the doorpost, kind of.
Not us. So it was almost like a preemptive thing, like an identification to be identified by your gods at whatever the equivalent of their gates were to let you in. So it wasn't even like a memorial tattoo, but I feel like those Indonesian tribes, that's closer to death. I mean, that's thinking ahead, really, if anything else. That's closer to death than anything I can think of from, eras prior to, the Western colonialization of all of those areas. Death was definitely heavily on the mind, but not so much in a memorial fashion, but as in a preemptive. Hey, I get to go to, like, this is good, right? Let me in. Like,
we're good, right?
Like
I got my VIP stamp,
Like, am I
right?
wearing enough black? Do I look cool enough? What? Like, do I look bored enough to get in or what?
That's cool.
So I really enjoyed that. That was from my readings, the oldest examples I found of tattoos pertaining to death. And that was 1,000 or so years ago. Yeah. So that's pretty cool.
Well, even you said some of the early, notations of tattoos were during the Civil War era, and that's about the time that even embalming became popularized.
Interesting.
And
Why?
to preserve. So,
talk to me.
Talk to her.
So basically, this is when you see the modern day embalmers born, because what was happening is a lot of men were being killed on the battlefield naturally. So where these embalmers came in is they would literally go onto the battlefield and embalm people and set them up. It was like where they set up their business to be like, hey.
Wait, bullets passing by them sort of thing?
Exactly.
I mean, we weren't there.
Okay, but like the ladies of the early Red Cross, like the nurses out there, like, oh shit, this is heavy.
The whole point, though, is to be able to send the soldiers back
fuck.
to their families, kind of as a whole piece, rather than.
Was it for identification purposes, or?
Well, I mean, a part of grief is to see the actual person, right? So rather than having this person that died on the battlefield and sorry, your loved one passed away, and you don't, you never see them again. It gave them the option to be able to see them again. And another really big turning factor was when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. He was embalmed and paraded around the entire country.
Fuck off.
So.
No way.
Yeah, on a train.
Wow. Okay, so this. Okay, cool. It's wild. So, do you guys? This is off topic, but I must know. Do you guys think? Okay, so for example, and you'll know this, but in Jewish culture, we don't do open caskets, right? And there's usually one loved one that will identify the body to the shamish, which is the dude who looks at the whole body, make sure it's clean, whatever. Mm-hmm. Do you guys personally think seeing the body, the shell, I guess, I don't know how you would call it, of somebody makes it easier to process, they're gone? From your opinion, as people that have experienced loss and as, morticians, funeral directors, whatever,
I would say it depends.
Well, I mean, Alexis, you can answer. Yeah.
Yeah. It depends.
Yeah.
In certain,
I think my answer's pretty the same.
Is it how fucked up,
I think
their body looks?
It is. No, I think on the situation, for some people, seeing the body may be
the same note.
I know. For some people, I think it may be actually a bit traumatizing.
Because of the same tone.
It can be a bit traumatic to see. So,
right. Well, because it doesn't really look like them.
I think it's always going to be situational.
Yeah, I look at it like this. So shameless plug, I wrote a piece about this
plug it
a long time
in.
ago on I Do Death on the blog. And I told a story about...
Do they know about your blog?
Yes.
Look, I'm just going to say if they don't...
Hey, do they know those people there?
Okay,
do you know?
Listen. this blog, she had this blog. I don't know how active we still are, but I'm just going to say, I'm sorry. I read it every month. And I was a cigarette smoker at the time. And every Monday, I would smoke a cigarette and read this fucking blog in the morning with my coffee. That's what I did. I looked forward to it all week. Oh, it was life-changing. It was funny. It made me. There was one that made me cry, which I'm not a crier. That was wild.
Gotta bring that back. Maybe I'll bring it back.
You should. I will say your tone changed after you went through your own grief. Like the whole tone after that changed. But yeah, it was good. Okay, shameless plug.
So
let's move on.
I wrote a piece called, I think it was "That's Not My Mama," and it was about just that. It was about someone who had gone up to view their loved one and said, "That's not my mother in this casket." Oof. And I mean, again, all of the stories that I told have been changed to protect the families and whatnot. You know, a lot of the details have been changed. But basically, there was this older mortician that I used to work with. I call him Mr. Jones. I won't say his name because I know he would not like that. And I remember him going into the room. It was very early in my career. He went into the visitation room, and this family was just screaming and screaming. And he says to her, she's like, well, she's supposed to look like she's sleeping. She doesn't look like she's sleeping. And he said, well, she's not sleeping, baby. She's dead. And he goes, which, I mean, hilarious, but awful. But at the same time,
super solid.
But he goes into saying, you know, when you move out of a house and the truck comes and you take all your things and you move out your furniture and you take the pictures off the wall and you do the final clean, that place looks completely different because what made it a home is gone. What made her is gone. There's no blood in those cheeks. There's no soul in that body. No matter what you believe in, there are no thoughts flowing. That's
not where she is.
That's not where she is. So naturally, what you're looking at is an empty house, and it's never going to look the same because what made her is either no longer there or asleep or gone or however you want to look at it. But what you're looking at right now is an empty house. So she's never going to look like she's asleep because she's not. And I thought this lady was going to hit him or something. I don't know. But I remember just watching. I think I was like 20 at the time. And I'm just like, and this woman just starts crying and sobbing and just gives him this hug. And just like, she's like, thank you. Like no one's ever just given it to me straight like that. She's like, thank you. And, you know, I say all that to say, I personally, like, I don't think I would want to be laid up and be viewed and all of that. No. I think about, like, even Matt Services. I know he wouldn't want that. He wouldn't have wanted that. Absolutely not. But I will say in certain, like, maybe allowing, like, I think about when he was in the hospital right before he passed, when we knew it was time. We called friends and family, people that he was close to, and was like, hey, it's time to come say goodbye if you want to come say goodbye. And that way they've still got that time, they still got that closure, and I think that's important to give people the option. But I don't necessarily think the pomp and circumstance is the right move for everyone. Now, of course, culturally, that's a whole different, that's a whole different ball game when you think about cultural traditions and practices. I grew up in a Creole family. Creole families very much like to do the viewing and all of that.
Right, and also, like, aren't Filipinos, the glass case, and it's like a week that they stay in the house? Is that not true? Or
maybe in the Philippines, I have not.
Here, I don't know if that's legal here, but I think there's like certain areas.
But there are a lot of. Well, I know coming from like Mexico, there are a lot of caskets that come and they have that little window that you can open at the top and it's glass plated.
Right.
So that way it's not actually open, but you can see inside. That's not really something that's very popular here in the U.S. I've seen it mostly with cases that we've received from Mexico. The Philippines, not so much. I've only ever received a handful of full caskets from the Philippines. More often than not, we're shipping them out. At least in my experience, we've shipped them out. But not a lot of receiving. I had heard about, and this is, again, like, you should probably Google or Wikipedia this, but I've heard of certain cultures where they take a body home after its death and they, like, live with it for a week. And they dance with it, and, like, it's exposed in some sort of see-through something. Yeah. And it is there. And then I've also heard of, there's this one culture, and I'm forgetting where it fucking is. But they specifically dig them up at the year mark.
It's in Thailand.
And they
Alexa's Google.
Thailand.
I was going to say Google it.
It's in Thailand.
They dig them up at the year mark, and
they have parades, and they parade
I mean, I imagine that doesn't really vary. Yes, around the like Lincoln, which I learned today. But I imagine they don't look very similar at that point
Right.
to the
Well,
point where they did when they were alive. But
Yeah.
as a processing tool, because like we all have our own grieving rituals, right? Like Jews, we bury the bodies immediately, but we don't do the unveiling of the tombstone for a year.
Right.
You know, like we all have our points where it's like you should be, like this is where we should meet you. You know, like I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I think and I think it's different for those cultures where people grew up seeing that. Like I say the same thing in terms of like witnessing a cremation, like watching the cremation take place.
Right.
Depending on the families, I'm always very, very transparent about what you're going to see, what that experience is going to be like. But there are certain cultures, like I think about like Buddhist families, for example, where that is just part of, that's just part of their funeral process. That's part of saying goodbye. They know what they're going to see. Kids from even, 2-3 years old are there. And that's what they are used to.
How hot do your furnaces get in the cremation? Do we know?
So on average, like the median temperature is like 1780.
1780. Okay.
Roughly.
Around
Fahrenheit.
there.
Yeah. So. Okay, this
Around
is dumb.
there, yeah.
Do we know offhand? And it's cool if not, but like cultures that maybe did more public burnings or cremations.
You mean like Viking funerals?
Well, I mean,
and
not
stuff?
even-
How do you get the fire that hot? That's all.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. So there's the Viking funerals, and then also in some indigenous cultures, they also did that too because they believed the fire element was
Right.
also sacred and that you were returning the person to
How do you get it
Cleansing.
that hot? What are they burning?
They're burning it on fire, on wood.
How do they even do that?
I mean,
on
I
a
don't
wooden,
know.
on an open wooden.
I know,
Yeah,
but
I was like,
fire,
I
but
mean-
there's different heats of fires.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you have an open.
Someone has to be so good at making a fire. I have
well,
tried to make
actually,
campfires.
in
Well,
Colorado,
we're Americans, so we're useless. You realize that, right?
in Colorado
Most
too,
people
it's an
aren't useless.
option.
I don't know. That seems like a hot fire.
Colorado is the only option
Outdoor
right
fire?
now.
Viking
Yeah.
funeral?
To this day,
Yeah.
they have
Is that
a mortuary
cool?
that does it.
Is that good?
It's legal.
Like, outdoors, like in the woods?
And not in the woods.
And they burn them
Not-
just
not-
as crispy?
not in the
Like
woods.
sorry.
It is on
like-
an open fire.
Okay,
Just
sorry. I was
as
like, that seems like a
crispy.
fire hazard. Right.
Danny?
Yeah.
I don't know. It just gets
Definitely
just
not.
as-
Just as crispy.
yeah, I don't know. Like little fairy dust. All right, that's cool. I'm sorry to segue. I just needed to know.
Hey, you have death questions, we have death answers. So
Yeah, well, also culturally, like, we don't
listen.
really cremate. Jewish people, we don't cremate. So, like, I haven't really seen much of
it's becoming
that.
more
Well,
of a
these
thing
days.
now
Yeah,
because the
that's
rules
it.
are
Do they-
changing. It before it was completely
Right.
not allowed, and now we're
Right,
seeing.
right.
I mean, this is my great grandma on here who was very, very Jewish, and she was cremated. I
Wait, you're
am.
wearing
She's around
her?
my neck.
Yo, that's
So
dope, dude.
yeah.
Okay, I just have to tell you, Ashkenazi, my half of Ashkenazi to your Ashkenazi, I have to tell you, the most Jewish guilt shit that's ever happened to me was Mother's Day a few years ago. I went to my mom's house, and she just said to me, she goes, oh, I'm like, Happy Mother's Day, Mom. I got you like a card or whatever. And she was like, oh, I bought my funeral or my grave plot today, my cemetery plot today. And I was like, oh. And I was like, you did that like today? And she's like, yeah, so it's paid for. You don't have to worry about it. I was like, okay, do I not visit enough? Like, what did I do to warrant this conversation? Like, why did you think to go
Hey,
do that
that's
today?
a great
Like, that was
gift.
I hate that my
honest-
first
That's
thought.
gonna save you a lot of stress.
No,
It is.
it
It
really
is.
alleviates a lot. It's next to my grandmother, who had no ties to Los Angeles other than it would be close to my mom, sort of thing. But like, I just thought it was odd on Mother's Day. I'm like, oh, how was your morning? She's like, I bought my headstone, and I'm like, all right. That's like a
I
weird
hate that
thing.
my first thought was, Alexis, and tell me if yours did the same.
wild.
When she said, I bought my funeral plot, and it's just like, okay, well, did you pay for opening and closing?
Is that shit expensive?
Yeah, it's very-
And
Is
did you
that
pay
is that
for
expensive?
Yes.
Okay, we'll see. I hope homegirl has a good life insurance policy then, because
That was immediately my brain just started going. It's like, okay, so you bought the
Oh,
space.
sure.
So did you buy?
oh,
the
she must
opening
have. She's a
closing?
planner. She
Did you
must
buy-
have.
My
Come
first
on,
thought-
Did you
Babs.
pay for the
Yeah.
marker, the inscription?
My first thought was like, is it Mount Sinai?
What is it?
Where is it? Is it Grove in Eden? Where is it?
It's whatever's the one next to the Christian one that's Forest Lawn. What's that one in
Hillside?
Burbank?
Oh yeah,
Mount
that's Mount
Sinai.
Sinai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Figure.
Yeah. My grandma's there, but I don't really go. Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, it's
I've never
fine.
been a. I know. I had this conversation with my mom not too long ago. because she's a veteran.
Yeah.
And I was like, you
yeah.
get a free burial space and all that.
Westwood
And
all
I
that.
said, well, she's like, well, if I'm in LA or if I'm in Riverside, I said, honestly, I will never come visit you once you're there. Like that's not, I'm not a cemetery person. And in there are some sides of my family, like some people in my family where that's really big to them. They go visit for birthdays, holidays, they decorate, which great. If that is, I am all for people doing what makes sense for them. In their process and memorializing someone.
Right.
But that has never been for me. That was never that never brought me peace to go and visit someone's cemetery plot.
I don't get it. Personally, I don't get it. It's cool if you do.
I'm weird. I love to go to cemeteries and explore cemeteries, but if it were somewhere I were having to visit or like someone who I loved who would have to visit, it would be... It's not fun. Like, it's not an enjoyable place that, like, brings me peace in that sense. But I do enjoy going to explore them and learning about people. But I think it's different when it's someone that you love and you're going to spend time and visit and go to a direct grave.
Right. So, the grandparent you wear around your neck, was it like a very uncouth as a Jewish person that was older that they had been cremated?
Yeah, I mean,
was that like a conversation?
It was. So towards
the
end, she kind of was. She wasn't as strict and devout for whatever reason. I attribute that to things that she had gone through, like trauma wise, that she's like, oh, okay, like kind of denounced God in a way. But even now, like my mom, her dad just passed away.
No,
it's okay. Her dad just passed away, and he's going to be cremated. Also, Ashkenazi Jew. So I think the dynamic in the family,
really,
yeah, and it's because his mom was cremated. That's the one who's around my neck. So,
interesting. Right. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Do you? Maybe this is too personal on your podcast. Do you guys have ways you'd want to be disposed of? Do you guys care?
Is that it? Of course, we'll answer that question. So, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't be interviewing you guys. I don't know.
No, we love it. So, you want to go first, Shannon?
I mean, I feel like mine changes constantly. Like right now,
Nice.
I want to be donated to science right now. That's where I am right now. And I mean, I don't care if I am a cadaver. I don't care if I am, in the Body Worlds exhibit. I don't care.
That would be so dope, dude. I would go all the
Have
time.
me up there like that.
It's like so many selfies.
Yeah. But like, I don't care if I'm skin grafts. I don't care if it's just pieces of me chopped up for med students to learn on.
Plastic surgery, fucking
I don't care.
Makeup. Who cares? Yeah.
I don't care.
Beautiful.
I feel like, as a human in this world, as I feel like I have taken up so much of the earth's resources and energy.
Wow.
Any way I can give it back,
Amen.
I'm all for it. And that's kind of where I am right now. And then whatever's left over, just like, throw in, just aquamate me for whatever's left, or like terramate me for whatever's left. I don't care. As long as it's something that I want to contribute. I want my death to contribute. And I want my leftovers to be disposed of in the most natural way possible.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
So I'm a bit of a hippie. I am always frolicking in the woods somewhere. So I want to do human composting.
Frolicking.
I am. I'm always in the woods somewhere. So I want to be human composted, and then I want my soil to be used either for certain type of garden or like spread amongst the redwoods where I'm constantly at. So
cute.
That is what I want.
Okay, cute. Yo, have you guys heard about the reef, like the coral reef? Mm-hmm. I'm a scuba diver, and they have like artificial reefs made out of like ash brick from like
it's
human
in Florida.
ash bricks or whatever. Is that cool?
It's in Florida.
Yeah. And I think they're doing something similar in San Diego as well.
They started.
I could be mistaken.
No. They started one there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Yeah, or is that not?
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Gimmicky and weird.
I think it's a good
It's
option.
not gimmicky and weird.
You guys got to get scuba certified and go visit me, okay?
I'm down.
I will not.
You won't even a little bit.
I will. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, that's true. I appreciate the honesty.
You know what it is? You know what it is? I will gaze upon my framed tattoo of your scalp with the
just
bees.
take it before you do that. Before you burn it.
Yeah, I will gaze.
You get the bees. That's yours.
There you go.
100%.
I'll gaze upon the bees and just
I
missing.
like exploring.
You know, I'll be on the look.
Get certified, baby.
I'll be on the boat with a cocktail while
I'm diving.
Love
Alexis
it.
is scuba diving.
Boom. Yeah, just sit on the shore with a little mimosa or
Yes.
something nice. Yeah.
I'll even be on the boat. I'll even
I
be
love
on the
it.
boat
Love being on
when
a boat.
she goes
Very
out.
Jennifer Coolidge and White Lotus.
Yeah.
Very hot.
These gays are trying to kill me.
just to let us. I get the last laugh. We all knew the homosexuals would be the undoing of Shannon Guillory. Thank you and goodbye.
I know. I'm like the one random stray cis that just
but
like
she's
joined
like
this
really
group.
very homosexual male in a woman's body is Shannon. That's about it.
They just let me come hang out. So we are going to play a little game.
Let's play it.
And we've played the death deck before, but this time we're going to do something a little different. It's called Stupid Deaths.
Okay.
So I am going to read the name of a historical figure, how they died, and you're going to tell me if that death is true or false.
Oh shit. Oh fuck. Okay. Let's hit some Darwin Awards, baby. Let's do it. All right, let's do it.
All right, are you ready?
Fuck me up, Shannon.
Alexis,
Ready?
are you ready?
Fuck me up, Alexis.
All right. Oh no, you guys are against each other.
Oh, you're going
shit.
down.
Okay. Bring it. All right. Come on. Come on, bring it.
I love that both of you sat up.
All right. We're
All right.
fostering. All right. Let's do it.
All right. We're gonna start off with Alfred Hitchcock.
Okay.
Born 1899.
Wow.
Died 1980. Planning to surprise an expected house guest, Hitchcock locked himself in a coffin in his home. Unfortunately, the guest never showed, and Alfred suffocated to death. He was buried a week later in that very same coffin that killed him. True or
False.
false?
That's got to be false because I would have read about that on Instagram at some point. There would have been some little blurb, like one of those fun
Yeah,
facts.
I said false too.
What do you think, Alexis?
I said false too.
You are correct. It is false.
All right. We're on the same team. That's
Tied.
I
good.
feel like
Tied.
as the queen of spooky, I would freaking know someone had died while suffocating in a
Oh,
coffin.
that's right. Well, yo.
Exactly.
You got that
We
shit,
would
right?
know.
Yeah.
We would know.
You guys both have.
Okay, we both have
Wait,
Edgar Allan
do you
Poe
guys both have
tattoos.
matching? Is it the same picture? Hold on. I think it's the
Look at
same.
that. Yeah, it's the same one. But hers is really
same
good quality.
portrait.
Yeah, really solid.
That is
dope.
hilarious.
Oh, tattoos.
Matching tattoos.
BFFs
All right.
now.
Bruce Lee.
Okay.
Born 1940. Died 1973.
He was
Really?
young.
Died 1973.
He
Why
was
did I think
hot.
Yeah.
Well, his son
Yeah,
died in
his
a
son
crazy
died in
way, which
that
we all
movie.
know.
Accidentally
Well.
got shot.
And the crow, yeah, it was
Yep.
the blanks exactly. So there's a blank bullet was stuck and ended up being a projectile in the shooting of the movie The Crow.
He died.
And they were supposed to be blanks, but they hadn't been discharged properly. One got thrown out of the barrel and he died.
He was young too. Super young.
Sucks.
Yeah, so let's see. He was in his
Yeah.
20s. I want to say late 20s. Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't realize he was only 33. Bruce Lee was 33. So, shortly before his death, the famed martial arts actor suffered a seizure and collapsed. 2 months later, after complaining about a headache, Lee was found dead in his room. Doctors reported that an allergic reaction to the very medication that was used to treat his seizures was the untimely cause of his death.
I buy that.
True or false?
I would
say
say true.
true,
That's
too.
way too elaborate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be true, man.
It's true. You
Yeah,
guys are
all right,
good.
That's got to be
Yeah.
true. That's
I
got
knew
to
that
be
it
true.
was
That's not even
Freak
stupid.
man.
That's
Yeah,
just
it's
sad.
that's really.
Okay. Bob Marley.
I know.
Oh, I know this one.
We already know
this
how he
one. I
died.
know his last words
Yeah.
too. It's the last words were "money can't buy
And
life."
he died from
All right, all
melanoma,
right, all right.
by the
Maybe-
way.
maybe we
So
skip. Maybe we skip.
Kind of, yeah, like toe cancer, but also an old soccer injury that was in that toe.
that's bread.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who we got? All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go. Tell me when to stop.
Stop. Fuck me up.
When are we
Shannon.
gonna play the death deck?
Tell me again.
Wait, who was it though? I want to know.
Huh?
Stop.
Okay.
All right. Ooh, let's try.
Jim Morrison.
Oh,
'Cause of course.
Okay, yeah. Cause I'm strange.
When you're
Or when you're
strange.
strange, cause I'm strange.
People are strange
Faces come out of the rain.
when you're strange.
When you're a stranger.
Faces
Born.
look ugly.
1943.
When you're alone. Ba-da-da-da.
died 1971.
Women seem wicked.
While
When you're unwanted.
should I just leave you two alone?
Sorry, rapping moment.
While performing one night with his band, The Windows, haha, just kidding, The Doors, one night in Paris, a deranged fan rushed onto the stage and shot him 4 times close range with a Luger semi-automatic pistol.
This just didn't happen.
That is excessive.
Homeboy drank a lot.
He was a part of the 27 Club.
Are we calling it false? We're calling it false.
Definitely just drank a lot of booze. I think we're into pop culture.
All right. We got one more in us.
Fuck me up. One of us got to win.
One of us has to win.
Grace McHugh. I know you guys are tied.
I know.
This is Grace McHugh, born 1898.
What the fuck is that?
I don't know, but that could be good. We don't know who it is, so maybe we won't know.
Yeah, so let's just go against each other.
Grace McHugh, born 1898, died 1914. While filming a scene on the Arkansas River in Cannon City, Colorado, actress McHugh's boat capsized.
Oof.
A camera operator immediately jumped into the river to save her and dragged her onto a sandbar that was actually quicksand.
Oh, shit. Quicksand's real?
The crew watched helplessly as the two were sucked into the sandbar and drowned. True or false?
Oh, God, that feels so suspiciously real to me. But I'm going to go opposite of whatever Alexis says.
Okay.
No, because one of us got to win.
So I will
But
go.
that feels really real, yeah?
It does, but I will go false, and you can go true.
I'll go true.
And I'll go false.
All right.
Oh, who's the winning?
You.
What is it?
True. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
It
It's because
is
I'm the guest.
true.
It was
Knew it was
fixed.
true. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, but you knew too. I saw it in your eyes. Like you're like that happened.
I know.
Like that was really like they threw in that
okay.
other person there for no reason.
How do you get how do you capsize in a boat?
But
you think
who
you're
dies
safe.
in quicksand?
That,
Like
Grace,
it's just the Princess
Grace
Bride.
McHugh.
The early
apparently.
Who the- I'm
1900s.
fucking Googling her ass.
Of course.
Star of the Silver. Let's come back on the camera.
it's
She's
like
like
you think
leaning
you're
away.
good. Imagine
So,
thinking you're
like,
good, and it's just like surprise quicksand.
I made it.
That's like
Bitch.
Final Destination. type
Absolutely
shit.
not. That is okay. Can I just close this out by saying my favorite last words that I've ever read ever? Is that
Damn.
okay?
Yeah, go for
I mean,
it.
I'm not close this out, but I just have to include this in this podcast. You guys close this out however the fuck you want to, but I have to say, Oscar Wilde's last words, who big fan, super funny, super closeted homosexual. So I have to throw in that because I've been talking a lot about the Jew shit, but the gay shit. Yeah, I know he's super gay as shit. His last words were, either those curtain rods go or I do. And I just think that needed to be acknowledged at some point here.
Are you hating on my curtain rods?
Yeah. That's
She's like staring at
Actually,
them
that's
from
specific.
afar.
That's a hint.
For some reason, I'm thinking about curtain rods. I don't know, super weird, the gay in me.
She's hating on my gold coat.
No,
my
they're
gold
actually
curtain
dope.
rods.
Yeah, that's sick.
My very, very girly apartment.
It's very
It's
cute.
very Shannon.
I wanted to try all the bathroom accoutrements.
Well, thank you so much, Dani, for joining us. This
Thank
has
you
been
for having
so
me.
much fun. Where can people find you if they want to keep up with you, if they want to get a tattoo?
Yeah, if you want to get tattooed, you should probably look at my work first. On Instagram is probably the easiest. It's at, I have a crazy last name, I'm sorry, but the @ symbol and then D period RACHMANN. Rachmann, spelled Rachmann. That's my Instagram handle.
Because she's ratchet.
Yeah,
Because she's ratchet, man.
Okay, look, I have this secret and I can twerk, but you have to give me really like 3 more of these cocktails and I would do it. I make it clap like it's really solid. Anyway, yeah, so that's on Instagram. My name is Dani Rachmann, spelled Rachmann with 2 N's. And just Google me or something. I'll show up.
Yeah. We'll put it in the show notes, and we'll try to find some ways to splice some of my favorite pieces. I know every time I like sing Dani's praises to anyone that I meet who wants a tattoo, to the point where now, even where, you know, I'd be at work sometimes and bouncing around to different funeral homes, and like people would stop me and be like, "Hey, I got tatted by your friend."
That's so dope, dude.
It's pretty cool, and we'll put some of my favorite pieces. I know I like to show people that piece that she does, the Millennium Falcon. That's one of my favorite pieces to show.
8 years ago. It was so good, though.
But because of just the line work is incredible, and yeah, you're definitely in for some of the best work. So we'll post some of your pieces. We'll share your info, and Thank you so much. As always, you can keep up with the show at Get Stiff Podcast. We want to hear from you. You can send us an email at getstiffpodcast@gmail.com. You can keep up with me at I Do Death and on Instagram, and I don't know what Twitter is now. X, oh God, Threads, all that jazz. TikTok.
Threads is kind of dope though.
Yeah. I'm TikTok, I.do.death, and Lex, where can the people find you?
You can find me on everything at Death with Lex.
And if you want to keep up with what we're doing together, you can watch all the behind-the-scene footage at the Death Duo.
Hot. Sorry, I'm loving this, man.
Thank you so much, Dani, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, babies.
As always, y'all, this has been another episode of Get Stiff, Stiff Talk.
Stiff drinks.
And we out.
Bye.
And we are done. Let's see. How do I stop this?
It's me like twerking at the ending of it.
Okay, how do I stop the recording? Hold on.
Keep
There we go.
recording.
Oh my God. Get Stiff is produced by Milan Reed. Do you have a topic you want to hear us get into? A drink recipe you'd like to recommend? Do you have a story to share? We want to hear from you. Get in touch at getstiffpodcast@gmail.com or reach out to us on Instagram at getstiffpodcast.